think you all know me, but you probably don't know a lot about what I do, so I'll just take a minute to tell you why I even deserve to be standing here. I was just a music fan. That's all it ever was. I never wanted to be in this business. It's not like I went to college for it. I never took a class. I never shadowed someone. I didn't do an internship. I just really love music, and I guess that shows to you guys. And I took photos at shows for a few years. I just personally promoted bands and, like on Facebook. Honestly, my career started on Facebook, and that sounds crazy, but it's kind of awesome too. You can use that as a launch pad for a lot of things. So I would take photos at shows and put them on Facebook, and I would just say, hey, go check out this show at Rumba Friday night. Like, this band's really great. And I don't know why, but people listened to me, and they went. And, like, it just kept happening. Like, every week, people would go to the shows that I told them to go to. And I found a band that I really believed in, which was EOP. And Evan Oberle and I became close friends. And so when he started that band, I just started booking and promoting his shows. And in just a few short months, I booked a show at Brothers Drake. I had never been to Brothers Drake before, and I didn't know anything about it. I very naively booked a show without ever checking out the room. Don't do that, just by the way. Like, always know what you're getting into. Know if it's the right venue for you, like as a promoter, which Ryan is. Always go check out the venue before you book something there, because it might not be what's best for your show. But I booked there just because I heard a lot of good things about it. And just through Facebook and word of mouth. I didn't use any techniques. I didn't make a poster. I didn't make a flyer. I didn't update a calendar. I just word of mouth promoted that show and packed the room. It was the highest sales they'd ever had, the most people in the building they'd ever had, the best music, according to them, they'd ever had. So they started asking, who the hell was responsible for this, because they know they didn't do anything. And they started vetting me, asking people in the city, musicians and whatnot, like, who's this girl that did this? And at that time, I was working in produce at a grocery store. And every night when I got off work, I would go to shows and promote shows and take photos of shows. So it's not like this was something I wanted to do professionally, and I was very scared. And, people typically don't, people typically don't just dive into something, they don't know anything about. So I had a lot of fear, and I pushed them away for 6 months. They wanted me to work at Brothers Drake for 6 months. They had a hole that needed filled. They were booking and promoting on their own, and they needed someone to hire who knew what they were doing. And they thought that was me. I didn't think that was me, okay? Like, I'd never done that before. That inspired them, that one show, that EOP show, inspired them to knock down the wall, double the capacity of the room. They installed a bigger stage, a better sound system, and so by the next time that I had another EOP show, I had double the pressure. And I was scared, because I'm like, well, shit, now the show's in December, and I have twice the room to fill. In winter, it's hard to get people to come out than it is in summer. So that show, actually, we were turning people away at the door. And at that point, they said, you need to drop down your guard, get rid of your insecurities, whatever it is, and we're hiring you, and that's it. Like, they basically told me, this is your job, this is your goal, or this is you're meant to do this. So a couple weeks later, that's what I did. But I had no knowledge of how this works, other than for the past 5 years, I've listened to all of you talking. I've made friends with a lot of musicians. They have all told me all the problems in the scene that they've had. They've told me issues they've had with venues, with booking agents, with promoters. They've told me what works for them and what doesn't work for them. I love to talk. I really love to talk, and I'll talk all day, and that's why I'm here. But I really listen so much more than I talk. And that's the key to my success, is I've paid attention to what everyone else is doing. And I've observed other venues, I've observed bands, and it's actually, pretty black and white, the keys to success. It's not that hard. It just takes our desire to do it, So on the side of Brothers Drake, I have booked shows out of the state for bands. My goal in general is to help really good bands get out of here. The bands that need to be shared with the world, and every band is playing music for different reasons. Some don't really want to tour. Some don't want to go play Madison Square Garden one day. And that's fine. Like, every musician's goal is different. But my goal is the ones that want to go tour and, you know, appeal to the masses and are marketable, is to help them do that. So in various ways I've done that. And that's really what I want to do. I don't really want to be a promoter or a booking agent of a venue for the rest of my life. But it seems like it's been pretty simple. You know, I've only been doing it for a year and a half. So that's about me. I have some stuff I want to talk about, but really I want you to ask questions. I don't want to talk at you. That's weird. So I kind of want to talk about, you know, all of you here are playing music for different reasons. Therefore, at the end of the day, your goals are different, and how you're going to achieve your goals are going to be different. So a lot of this stuff is going to apply to you in different ways, or it won't apply to you at all, you know? You know, we've got a scene where some people are just hobbyists, and they don't care how much money they make. They don't care if, you know, 20 people come to their show or 100 people come to their show. Some people only care about how much money they make because they're trying to make a living that way, you know? And that makes my job pretty difficult when booking a show. And I think that the key to getting to the success that you're looking for is always open communication. And what I find is that at the time that I am discussing with a band, booking a show, musicians don't ask the necessary questions. And then they ask after the show, well, why didn't this go this way? And then it's like, well, you should have asked me up front, you know, how we could have gotten to that goal that you wanted us to reach. And that's the thing, is that, like, for me personally, I'm booking a venue that so many people want to play. And I have a limited amount of time in the day, and I can't individually teach every person in every email and in every phone call, you know, this is what you should be asking me and this is how it works. Like, you have to take responsibility for your own success. Musicians are, I mean, I care about you guys so much. I care about art, I care about music. You're the most fortunate individuals in the world if you can get paid to express yourself. You know, money is an exchange of goods needed, not necessarily things that you might just want. You know, I mean, like, people don't feel like they need art. They don't need music. Getting people to pay for it is really difficult because it's not a necessity. And I think that that's what we're all trying to do, is inspire people to pay for it. And it's really hard, especially in these days when it's so accessible. And if, like, you can get free music anywhere, you can get free shows anywhere, you can get free stuff everywhere, and you charge, well, I don't want to pay for it, so I'm just going to go down the street and get it somewhere else, you know? So it's all about you inspiring people why they should pay for you and why you're different than the free shit down the street, you know? So I think that one thing that musicians need to do is understand who they are, set their expectations and their goals for themselves, and realize, like, I mean, are you someone that, you know, I mean, I know Andy and Chris Shaw, like, I'm not trying to call people out in a negative way, but I'm saying, like, in a positive way, like, those are two guys in the city that have perfected the art of making a living and paying their rent and their bills, you know, by playing shows. And that's a testament, because I know a lot of people need to have a day job, you know, but I don't know what their goals are. I've never maybe asked them, but I don't know if they want to go play, you know, sell out Red Rocks one day, or if they just want to be comfortable and successful and pay their bills off of expressing themselves, you know. You're really fortunate if you get to do that. A lot of people have to do a lot of shitty things for money. And I did a lot of shitty things for money for a long time. Now I get to do something that I really love for money, so I'm just like you. You know, but I have to work at it. It's not like it just comes easy. I feel like there's different scenes, you know. We've got, like, the jazz scene. They will only play if they get a certain amount of money paid, you know. And then you've got the indie scene where, well, they've got day jobs, so they don't, like, if they make $30, that's great. I mean, they don't really know that they can ask for money. There are situations where you can ask for money, and there's situations that you can't. But something that you should all understand is that because you're in a position where people are willing to pay for just your self-expression, you can't actually expect anyone to ever pay you for that. Like, that's just the reality of the world, you know, and until the world catches up and respects music and art in a way that we all want them to, which, you know, probably won't happen anytime soon, you can't expect to get paid for what you do. You just can't. It's reality. So you take what you can get, and you feel fortunate that you're getting that, you know. Like with anything else in life, the amount of work you put into things will be also what you get out of it. So the harder that you push and the more that you work and the harder that you promote your brand, that's going to also pay off for you in the long run, you know, whether it be experiences or it be money, you know. And me personally, life isn't about money, you know. I mean, I need money to pay my bills and get by, but I don't need a yacht, I don't need a big house in the hills, you know. To me, life is about the experiences, and I think that's why most musicians even play or stay in the game if they're not getting paid, is because of all the other musicians that they meet and all the different venues that they get to play and all the different cities that they get to travel to, and just, you know, that exchange of art appreciation. So in the beginning, when you're going to be a musician, you need to establish what your goals are, you know, and also understand that it's really hard to just make a living off of playing gigs. You're probably not going to make money selling records. It's actually not existent these days, okay? You have to play shows, and you have to have merchandise and be in control of the, you know, margin that you take off of that, how much you earn off of that, and expect that you're probably going to struggle for a long time. The reason I say things like this is because when, you know, one of the first things that people will ask me, or they don't, when booking a show is, well, you know, how much money am I going to earn? That's usually the first thing that I get asked. Sometimes I've got musicians that don't care. And it leaves an imbalance, because there's the musicians that care more than I don't want to say more than they should, but more than they should, because you know, like, I mean, like I said, like, you can't expect it, you know. I know that there are jazz students that have spent $80,000 on an education, and when they get out of college, they're like, well, I need to pay that back, you know. But it's just like anyone else. I mean, it's like a doctor is going to go to college and you know, spend $100,000 on education, and it takes time to earn that back too. But there's a huge need for doctors, and there unfortunately isn't a need for music, you know. So it is a different world that we're living in. Or that you are living in with doctors. Oh, thanks. I obviously pissed you off. Aw, good luck, guys. That's Belarus. I don't know if you guys know who Belarus is. I feel like I'm being too formal. You know, this is a little weird for me. But I really want you to ask questions. So if you at any time, I swear to God, if you at any time have a question, raise your hand, I guess, you know, or shout out, I don't care. So in the beginning, you need to determine, you know, why you're playing music, and then understand that you're not going to just make money. It's just not going to happen. Like, you're doing it for the love of it, and that's that, okay? Booking shows is something that I obviously do every day. And there's so much shit involved in that. One thing I want to say is, when you want to throw a show, first of all, determine if that venue is even right for you, okay? Because I'll speak from my experience. You know, Brothers Drake is a place that it has certain things on tap. It doesn't have PBR. It doesn't have Jameson. You know, it's not really exactly the type of place where you should have metal and moshing. You know. But yet, those bands submit to me and want to play there. And I don't really quite understand that, because I think that you have to know if your fan base is even going to want to go there, if they're going to have a good time, and if, you know, they are going to support you in a place like that, you know. I've had a lot of shows where the fan base of the music comes in and doesn't understand our mission and what we're doing, and there's just more questions asked and less money spent, which leads to less money given to the bands at the end of the night, you know. If you're doing a free show at Brothers Drake, you get 10% of the bar. And when you've got people that come in and they're like, well, where's Heineken? I don't know where the Heineken is. We don't have Heineken. Well, they came into the show for free, and they didn't spend any money at the bar, And they filled up the room, like these bodies are in the room, and at the end of the night, you're looking at the sales, you're like, well, nobody drank. And that's because this wasn't their room. I mean, you can, maybe if you booked it, I don't know, Hell and L's, and like there was more available stuff on tap, people were drinking more because they understood that. Then that equates to more bar sales. Now, those are just things you should think about. Is this the right place for me in my clientele, or my fan base, I'm sorry. I've had to, I like to be open to everybody. I like to book for all styles of music. But there's some styles that just don't work. And it's not because it doesn't work for us. It's really kind of like it doesn't work for them. And I'm more protecting you by saying, look, you don't make money here. And I know that you want to make money here, or you want to make money in general. So like, why do you keep wanting to book here? I think, I get it. But after every show that we book, you're upset because you didn't make any money, but I'm telling you it's because your fans don't buy stuff here and they don't understand it, So it's really important to do your research and find out if a venue is right for you. Especially if you're on the road, a new band starting out, you kind of want to look and see if these places have built-in clienteles, because it's really hard to promote a show on the road. Nobody knows you, nobody cares about you. That city probably already has a scene, So like a place like Brothers Drake is good because on weekends we have a lot of people that come in just for the bar. When you're booking on the road, definitely look for that kind of stuff. When you reach out to a venue, find out, bless you, find out what their preferred channel of booking is. There's something worse than pissing off the person that you want something from. And that needs to be made clear also. You want something from them. It is realistic that venues book music because they want to make money off of you. That's it. They're not there to support you. They're not there to support your art. They're not there to promote you. They don't care. They want to use your music to channel bar sales into their business. That's it. And if anyone tells you different, that's a rarity, I mean, Brothers Drake is a place that supports music, but we also need to keep the lights on, and we need to pay my salary, we need to pay for things, like that's just what it is. So recognize that there are way more of you than there are venues, and you want something from them. So you have to respect their process and how they go about doing things, or you won't get asked back. And then now that's, if we have 12 venues in the city and there's 500 bands, well, now you have 11 venues in the city because you pissed them off in some way or the other, So right up front, find out what's the best way to go about booking. Does somebody want to be emailed? Do they want to be, caught on the phone? Do they want a demo? Whatever it is. And then respect that process. And if somebody, says no, I'm not interested, believe me, I say no 99 times out of 100. And I see things from a business aspect that musicians don't see. And you don't have to see it. It's not your job to see it. It's my job to see it. You're not working for the bar, so you don't have to know what decisions and what factors go into me booking a show. But just respect that if I make that decision, or if a booking agent makes that decision, that's in the best interest of everyone. And don't be offended. I know that musicians are sensitive. We're artists, and our egos come into play and we're like, well, they don't think I'm good enough, or they don't think I'm gonna bring enough people. Okay, it's not even about that. It's just that, just accept it. It just is what it is. Business is business, and that's something that's not going to change. So, hi, Aiken. You have to respect that because, like I said, that you want something from them. Before you step foot in a venue, ask the process of how it works. Ask what you're going to be paid, what you should expect to be paid, how it works. Ask if the bar pays the sound guy. Ask what your bar tab is. Ask all the necessary questions, ask load in, load out, everything like that. Ask if they have expectations of how many people they want to be in the room that night. Ask if they have expectations of what they want the bar sales to be that night. There are certain nights of the week that I know, like on a Tuesday night at the Meadery, I'm happy if I get $1,500. On a Friday night, I need $4,500, So sometimes you have to recognize if you're capable of getting to that point or not for that bar. Because if you're not, then you shouldn't even be playing, because then you're just going to disappoint a bunch of people. You're going to disappoint yourself, because you didn't make as much money as you thought you were going to make or hoped to make, and you're going to disappoint the bar because you didn't draw what they wanted you to bring. It's a very symbiotic relationship, you know. Yes, Chris.
I was going to, not to interrupt you.
No, interrupt.
Now, but to the previous point,
I'm glad you did.
You have to understand that you're coming from a poker, obviously, venue situation standpoint, whereas if I would just accept that a venue told me I couldn't play there, I probably wouldn't be playing any shows at all. So that's not a good rule in my opinion, because you just have to persist with your musician and believe in the product. I would never say just accept that venue says don't play there.
No.
That's a horrible thing to say, because I wouldn't play any shows if that wasn't true, because that's what...
Is that true?
Yeah, if you start out as a band and you start going to shows, every venue says no, because they don't know who you are. They've never seen you play. They don't know your product. You're nobody. So,
that's true.
Yeah, that's
okay.
the opposite thing I would say.
I'm probably, I mean...
Don't ever say that. Don't ever accept a no. Always persist.
Okay. But...
Persistence is one of the best things I could say to anybody for musicians trying to make money is persist, persist, persist.
Do you think that being too pushy is out of... Do you think that being too pushy, though, is disrespectful and you shouldn't get to that point, you know?
That's not persistence.
Okay.
Persistence of your product and belief in yourself, that's super important. When people tell you no, which they have, that's what we get told all the time.
That's true.
And it makes sense. I was at that venue too. When you get 100,000 emails a day, it's like, no, 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 no.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, if people persist and, you know, they're respectful of you and your process and they get to know you and, hey, I really want to try this out. I got this and I'm communicative and then, you know, that's what you should be doing.
Yeah.
I think there's a right way and a wrong way. Because,
exactly.
Like, it's almost like if you're trying to date some girl, like you can be persistent and like, but you could also be that weird guy that won't stop calling.
Exactly.
Yes.
So like, just don't be the weird.
Right.
Yes.
I mean, I get emails
That's true.
all the time from these people that are just random people that have my email for some reason. Like, Jonathan Smith wants to do a house concert at your house. You know, he's from LA and he's played on Grey's Anatomy or some shit. I'm like, I don't know who you are, I don't care. Like, you can be famous, but you're giving me an email that you know you send to 15 people or 100 people.
Yes.
It's like a blank. It's a what do you call that? It's like a template.
I'm kind of glad you brought up name dropping. I just want to go into that for a minute.
But you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
I wouldn't I'll never respond to that.
Yeah.
But I will respond to my friend that's like, hey man, you know, I'm a metal guy. I know that I don't really fit with your genre, but I'm really needing some help in your town. Can you help me out? Okay, yeah. Like, it doesn't work with my band, but I will help you out if you're nice and
yes.
You're like, you're just telling me you're communicative.
Yes, be honest.
But he can be persistent and he can go through the way.
But if somebody has told you multiple times no, then you have to, at that point, respect that that's what it is. Yeah, yeah, yes.
Well, to that point, I do have a question. As someone who's getting started to getting into this, how then do you draw the line of, well, we don't know you, but you may be good, but if the chance is never given, how are you going to be able to bring it into the scene?
What works for me, and I'm different, but I would hope that this is the case for a lot of people. One thing you can try, and some of you have done this, is say, look, I have a show this week. You're going to get a show. There will be places that take chances on you, okay? That is real. Like, you're not going to be told no every time, okay? I know. Okay. But, well, you've been able to play in this city, though. Plenty of places.
but if I was giving the advice to just say accept it, if they say no, when I was beginning, I'd hell no.
Okay. Well, no.
I would never be where I was right now.
It's persistence with respect is what I'm saying. Is, you know, I mean, I am coming from a jaded place. Let's be honest. You know, I have been told some shitty shit, right? Like, you know, I mean, and people take it personally, like I said, because we're artists, you know, and we are sensitive about our art. But you have to respect that there are reasons for those decisions. And you do want something from them, and they don't want it from you. Also, that is just the way it is.
You can eliminate a lot of those reasons by preparing yourself to get bands, too. So if you go up with somebody that a band goes to you that you've never heard of, they're not prepared, they have nothing to show you, nothing to give you.
Yeah.
And you say no to them, just flat out,
Yeah.
you know, they have to understand that as a band, they can then come back and be like, well, she said no, let's do this and this and this, accomplish these goals, and then try it again.
And I've had bands do that.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, and I've had bands do that. So what happens then, like say that happens, you know, I've had plenty of bands that I've said no to. And it's just because I'm not willing to take that risk yet. They'll invite me to one of their shows. They'll say, hey, I'm playing at King Avenue 5 this weekend. I'm gonna put you on the list. I would really like you to come check it out. You know, and you tell me if it's right for you. And I'm the kind of person that I can listen to recorded music all day long, and it means nothing. Your recordings in a studio do not transfer to how a live show is going to be. It means nothing, okay? So when I get an email that has, you know, recordings, I'm like, well, great, that's awesome. I mean, if a band sounds fantastic, then I want to put them on my stage. But if a band is, you know, just like, it's whatever, it's like a lot of other things, and, you know, there's just so much of it. Like, a lot of people are, you know, repeating a lot of music. It's hard to stand out and be creative in this world. We know that, okay? So I want to know how you are live. And I want to see how many people you bring out. I want to see, you know, how many people are drinking. And I will go check out your show. That's me. Now, I can't do that 7 nights a week because I have schedules and a life and things too. But I will make that effort. And if a musician is reaching out to me and saying, hey, you haven't given me a chance yet, I really want a chance, then I take that to heart. And I think, well, shit, like I should go do this, you know? But that's me. Obviously, not everybody's like that. So something that you can do, and this might sound elementary, but if venues don't want to book you, you create your own venue. You know, you throw a house show. The city has a great house show culture, you know? And then what happens is if your music is good enough and more people are into it and whatever, and you have 50 people that come out to your house show, then it's going to be easy to get them to go to a venue, you know? I mean, that's like, invite that booking agent to your house show. I don't know. I mean, it's like, if opportunities are not being given to you, you create them yourself. You know, you can, I don't know, ask Groove U if they'll let you throw a show here. I don't see why they'd say no. I'm not saying they would or wouldn't, but, you know, like, people play churches. People will, you know, ask a coffee shop that doesn't have music if they can have it there. That's how Brothers Drake started. Brothers Drake didn't want to be a music venue. They didn't start out being a music venue. Musicians came in and created an opportunity for themselves. They created a new music venue. They said, hey, can we bring our amps and play music? And those people were like, yeah, why not? You know? So they created their own opportunity. Am I answering your question? It is persistence, but it's persistence with respect. It really is that. And Chris is right. If you believe in yourself enough, you should not be, you know, accepting that people are telling you no. I mean, he's right. But you have to also understand that, yeah, you gotta do it in the right way. And don't be a dick. I mean, I'm gonna be honest, don't be a dick. Do you have a question, Mark?
You said something about name dropping, and I'm still curious.
Yes. This is something I get all the time. Someone will say, hey, you know, so-and-so can vouch for me. They told me to contact you. And they said, you know, like, I mean, like, okay, a lot of people know I'm friends with a lot of people, right? And there's certain musicians that you know that I'm probably really close with. So they'll drop those names. And just based on me or them knowing that person, they think they have an in with me. Just because you know my friend doesn't mean that you are gonna bring a bunch of bar sales into my bar. Doesn't mean you're gonna have a really good show. I mean, those things, name dropping means nothing, okay? It doesn't translate into a good experience at my bar. I mean, I know famous people too. It doesn't mean that, like, their friends should do things for me. I'm actually offended by that. I've had that quite a few times, and it absolutely means nothing when it comes to booking and throwing a show. So, you know, you can say, I have no trouble with you saying, like, hey, Nick D gave me your email address, you know, just so I know how you got in touch with me, that's fine. But you shouldn't say, like, you know, and he said, and just so you know, he vouches for me. I'm like, well, Nick might have different tastes in music than me, you know, and also Nick doesn't know what I require on a Friday night at Brothers Drake, you know, like, it's not his job to know that. And it's like, I've told musicians, to me, that, I don't know, I just think that's it's just not something to do. Do it all day, but it's not going to get you anywhere. It just isn't, you know. And I know that a lot of promoters would say the same thing. You know, it just because you know this guy doesn't mean that you're going to be good. You're a good musician, you know. Yes.
It's
And this is, they put me in touch with you. I think that is pretty helpful because, this big time, which means that can be close to them when they are connected to some kind of network in the city. So,
I agree too. I mean,
Okay.
you gotta have some kind of in when you're booking your show. You don't want a template email that says, "Hi, my name is Chris Shaw. I'm from Columbus, Ohio. I'm number one on the blah 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 charts." You know.
No.
Hey, my name's Chris. I'm friends with John. He knows you.
Okay.
That's normal.
I get that
But it pisses
a
me
lot.
off when they name drop in there. I mean, that makes sense.
No, but so, to that, I've, brought in a few different bands that you've suggested, right? So I get emails that say, hey, Nick D told me that you're a good venue, and I, he vouches for us or whatever. But guess what? I'm going to listen to that music regardless. And if it's not what I want on my stage, then I'm not going to book it, it's not bad to do that, but it does, just know that that's not going to get you somewhere. So it's almost kind of like, I had somebody recently do that, and the music was shit. Sorry, it was. And then I started asking other people, what's up with this band? And they're like, oh yeah, that's another thing, and whatever. So I was like, well, see, that's the thing. Like, if I had booked them based solely on the fact that they said, I know this guy and I know you know him too, then I would have been burned because they would have brought no people and the music would have turned people off. I have to use my head and go around that, So I'm always going to vet the bands. I'm always going to listen to the music and check to see, what else they're doing in the city or out of the city and what kind of online imprint they have or whatever the things are that I look for in a show, But I'm just letting you know that it's not going to get you somewhere, and if it does, then venues get burned, The reason, as a whole, the reason that we're all in this room today is because things aren't perfect. If everything in our city was perfect, we wouldn't be talking about stuff. We would just wake up and everything would be perfect all the time. We'd book shows, we'd make money, we'd have fans, everything would be great, But obviously there's issues, and that's why we're here, And we all want to figure out what we can do to change things. And I think that the communication is the key. In the beginning, before you book the show, and after the show. It's a start to finish thing. Josh, you had a question.
yes.
Okay.
This goes kind of back to the previous topic, backtrack, but a lot of this thesis focuses on the business and dollars in local music. But with that model, what would you tell a band that's, let's say, straight edge? Their whole mantra is, don't drink, don't do drugs, all this. They don't drink. Their clientele, their fans.
That's a good point.
Does that mean that they're barred from going to venues and showcasing their art? They just...
Well, it goes back to two things. One, bars book music to make money off of music. That's the reality. And if you don't get that opportunity because they're not going to give it to you because they can't make any money off of you, then you have to create your own venue. 21 Pilots did that. I don't know if anyone paid attention to 21 Pilots, like in the early stages, because that's what they were. They were straight edge. And I don't know too much of the details. Mallory might know more than I do, but I do know that in general, like, they played churches. They threw shows on lawns. They had, what'd you say?
Tyler from 21 Pilots, his very first show was at the Apple Store in Houston. And
Yeah.
he didn't get booked there. He just started playing there, and people flocked.
Yeah.
I mean, he made his own venue.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
Exactly. If you're not going to get that opportunity, for whatever reason it is, you have to create it yourself.
It's got to be a straight edge music scene. I mean,
Yeah.
I know there is. I don't know anything about it. But
I don't either,
they play somewhere, so yeah.
Ryan, maybe you know more about that. You tend to promote and like do a lot of more like Christian bands than I do.
That's where
I'm
my
not
roots
saying.
are, but I'm all over the place.
Yeah.
Actually, I did have a question though. We've been talking a lot about persistence with respect, which is something I really strive to do. But there have been a couple of times where, like I'll give you an example. Where I've run into conflict, even though that's been my intention, and that's just because I'm still learning, still growing. But last December, I booked the biggest show I've ever done. It was a CD release show with Scully's. 100 people came out. radio promotion. But like 6 weeks before the show was due to happen, I did not have a venue, and because to be transparent, we had a hard time making up our our minds, and so I was getting stressed, and I got kind of an open-ended answer from Scully. It's like, hey, we're willing to work with you, but give us a few days, It was kind of like, so I did, and I didn't get a response right away, and there was another promoter. I don't want to gossip.
Yeah, we're not here to do that, by the way, guys. I'm not here to do that.
Who had told me was, but actually, I actually think he's a great guy. But at the time he told me he was going to try to help me promote the show, just as as a favor. And so I copied him on all the emails I sent to Scully's, and basically after the window they gave me had expired, they hadn't responded yet, and I was kind of like, hey, the window's gone. It's past the window. I was pretty stressed. I was like, I really need to get this done, and the promoter actually called me, and later he apologized for being harsh, but he was like, hey Ryan, I know you're a good guy, but right now you're coming across like a self-absorbed jackass. and I was kind of like, okay. At the time I was like, okay, he's been in the business a lot longer than I have. Maybe he's right. Maybe I am being too persistent, But later I talked to the booking agent, and he was like, well, I had no problem with your emails.
I know.
So I guess my question is, there's no problem being persistent with respect, but when it comes to where either you have like an open-ended answer from a booking agent, or maybe no answer right away, what's the best way to approach that? Or does it or is it something that kind of varies from person to person?
It varies person to person. People, everyone's different. Every person is different.
Yeah.
We all have different personalities, and we all have different things that make us tick. And, I'm obviously a lot different than most people when they're booking and promoting shows. I just have a kinder heart. But let me tell you this, one of the things that I know is like, as someone who books for a venue, I'm putting on, 250 to 300 shows a year. And as a band or a promoter, you're putting together a lot less than that. So at that, well, that's true.
A lot of bands that 300 shows a year.
Okay, that's true.
Different venues all around the entire country with different bookers.
That's true. Okay. Okay.
That's way harder than your job.
Yeah, okay.
Sorry.
Didn't know we were debating what's harder. Okay.
You got to know every single booker's personality. I would say that to you.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And even if he's a jackass, like, take him for what he is and what he can give you, and then leave him for all the other stuff. If you don't like working with him, don't bring your money to his business.
I'm very diplomatic and conflict avoiding, so oftentimes.
Sounds like you were right and he was wrong. That's what it sounds like.
So oftentimes when people yell at me for stuff, I tend to take what they said at face value first, and then it's only later that I think, wait a minute.
I'm like that too. I'm the same way.
Yeah.
I'm the same way, but you gotta know yourself at some point too.
Yeah.
You're worth something. Like she said, it's like they want something from you, but you also want something from them. We're looking for fans, we're looking for a bar to play in, we're looking for a lot of stuff. Sorry, I don't want to interrupt.
No. Interrupt. I want you guys to talk.
That's the hard part about this business. Every booker is completely different.
They are.
And like you said, some are texters, some are emailer, some are, you just gotta know the personality. And you gotta do it long enough, and if they're jackasses, don't work with them. Find a better venue.
It's true.
But if you really want to play that venue, then you should keep doing it and take it for what it is. Be comfortable with yourself. Realize that he's an idiot.
The show did end up working out, by the way. say.
That's awesome. You gotta take what you can from him, and then like the rest, just be like, you know what? You know, he's a little cranky sometimes, but
Because this is business and it's not personal, but we are operating, like we said, in a sensitive with sensitive people. It's art, and business can be business in a lot of things, and then personal can just be personal. But we're meshing those two together when it comes to music. So you yourself have to learn to differentiate between the two, because there are a lot of promoters and booking agents in this town that they're all business and there's no personal. I'm more personal than business, and that's why it's harder for me. I get very sensitive when it comes to this kind of shit, and the stuff that I've been put through as far as interacting with musicians on booking shows makes me, I'll be honest, turn more into those people. That's absolutely true. And I don't want to ever be that, So that's why I want us to all talk about this shit, and because one day I'm going to have to put more walls up and turn into that person that is just straight ahead business. Yes, no. I don't give a shit what your opinion is. I don't care how persistent you are. I don't ever want to be that, but I understand why there are some people like that, because they're not in it for personal reasons, or they're not in it for the heart, or they don't want to support musicians. They don't really care. It's just about business and how many people are coming in the room, how much alcohol is being sold, and if you don't fit that criteria, then screw you.
Because it's a hard business.
It is a very hard business.
Bars open. If you're not looking to communicate like you are, then you wall yourself into that culture, whereas your venue doesn't seem to be doing that, which is important and I think awesome. I think it's a different shift in culture too.
Yeah.
There's a lot
Just
more,
respecting
a lot more venues
artists.
that are open to that, more that are changing over right now.
Yeah, that's true. We can talk more about that. JB, what's your question?
What's the respectable amount of people that you might bring to the show, I guess, in addition to like that? If you had, the most negative rating might be like 2 people show.
Every venue is going to have different expectations, okay? Now, think about the capacity of the room, all right? You've got Scully's, which is what, like 700, 600. If you can only bring 10, why are you booking there? Yeah, if you can bring 100, why are you booking there? I don't think you ever want to only fill 10% of a room. I don't think you only want to fill, a third of the room. I think that musicians probably feel better if they're filling half to more. I think that bars are probably happy if they're filling half to more. But the larger that it gets, like if you have a 20,000 seat venue, 10,000, it's 10,000, but it's still not, bars want to sell out. Venues want to be packed, so the closer you can get to that is great. If you can only bring 10 people, find a room where, I don't know, Cafe Kerouac, what, 50 people fit in there? I don't know, just know what you can do and book around that. Or play with other bands, absolutely. If you can bring 10 people, another band can bring 20, a third band can bring 20, well, there's 50 people in a 100 capacity room, or 100 people capacity room. That's why you build off of playing with other bands. I book that way, if there's, JB, I know you're a great musician, and I want to put you on my stage, right? So I'll be like, well, guess what? JB deserves to be heard. And so I'm going to pair him up with someone that I know is going to draw. And then you're going to be exposed to their fans. That's what you kind of need to think about too, is who else can I play off? That's what all musicians seem to be doing, is networking with each other to play off of other people's fan bases. But just think about, when you're going into booking a show, know your limitations and know that every bar wants to be packed every time they play, or that every time they throw a show. We all know, though, as people running a business, that's not going to happen all the time, But if they like you and they like your music, they're going to give you a shot, and they're going to try to figure out how to work that out. And they're not going to be mad at you if you don't bring everybody all the time, because they took that chance. That was their risk that they took. I've done that plenty of times. I've thrown shows where, not that many people came out tonight. We didn't make that much money, but I believed in that music enough that it was okay. you know, and maybe next time I'll do the legwork to put them with a better band, or I'll suggest to you who you could bring next time to play with you, you know? Obviously, I'm different, I know that, but that's like, you have to do that homework and know if that venue is right for you. And if you can only bring 10 people, then maybe go play open mics and go get on other bills and just expose yourself in any way that you can to more people in order to raise your fan base. Because maybe you're just not ready for that venue yet. You know, that happens a lot at Brothers Drake. Like, maybe you're just not ready to play that space, you know, or at Woodlands Tavern or wherever it is. Like, maybe, I mean, look at what other bands are playing there and who's packing the room and how well they're doing, and try to figure out what you can do to grow your fan base and get to that level, you know? You have a
I
question?
read a good article about, like, you should always play packed shows. Like, if your band isn't big enough to play somewhere, then you can play it.
Yeah.
Play the venue you can pack, even if it's like an open one night. Right?
Yeah.
Not an open mic isn't a venue, but even if it's like you need to get fans other in the bathroom. Play in the bathroom.
Yeah, play in the bathroom at the venue. I don't know if they'll let you do that, but what's your question?
To your point though about packing up the place, it's a bit different from Brothers Drake because Brothers Drake, I want to say, almost has its own fan base, purely from Brothers Drake market standpoint. Not a lot of other venues try to reach out and people to get them to come out. They rely solely on the musicians and to try to get them to come out, which is a big problem because I think it should be both ways.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up.
If you try to schedule 100 shows during the year, not even your friends are going to come out to each one of your shows, right? That's why I say Brothers Drake is a good venue because it has its own pool. And you add on, as an artist, your own band is that. But there's really no other attempts from other venues that's in Columbus that does that.
True.
It's purely from word of mouth, but there's just, I don't see anything.
I would say Brandon House is a good example.
And that's new, and a lot of people don't know about that place.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
What place is that?
Rambling House Soda Pop.
Oh, okay.
It's, you never heard of it?
I've
Yeah.
heard of it.
Okay.
I've been
It's like near Rumba.
Across the street from the Meadery School, the Helping Hands Learning Center.
It's really random.
It's, yeah, and okay, I mean, yeah. Okay, let's talk about what you just said.
It's cool because it's funny because it's like in their interest. It's in the venue's interest to create their own pool, right? I mean,
Absolutely.
Like if you weren't going to have musicians, you'd have to advertise your place.
Yes.
So, you know.
So that's something that I want to talk about is I think that, and this is my opinion, you know, maybe not the opinion of all venues, but I think that if your bar, and you also, let's talk about this, like there's bars that have live music, there are just music venues, okay? Brothers Drake at this point, because we're open hours that, you know, we're not open just for a show, we're open as a bar. We're a bar with live music. Music venues are like Rumba. Okay, even Woodlands Tavern, that space next door is only when they're throwing shows, you know? Hal and Al's or Victories I think is open, right? Whenever there isn't a show, is that true? Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, these are places that are doubling though as bars, restaurants, and live music. So, if you can play off of that crowd, good for you. You're lucky, you know? But that's, I mean, you're trying to play music, and there are lots of different types of places to play music. And sometimes you are going to only be able to play places that you 100% have to draw. Now, it's of my opinion in this business that if you are having live music in your restaurant or your bar or your just, you know, music venue, that you should be promoting and supporting it, okay? I think that the more you promote that you have music, the more people you're going to draw into your business. You know, we can't force other people how to run their business, obviously, but I know that there are some places that charge bands in this town for the promotion. If I ever charged you, like, I mean, I make a monthly calendar, and I go out with Meadery every month, and we hit 15 places in the city, and we drop down that calendar so that people know what music and events are at our bar. We post everything on all our calendars online. I make posters that bands don't make for their shows. You know, I know I'm an exception to the rule, but like that's because I'm trying to bring people into my bar And music reaches more people than just alcohol sometimes, you know? So it is their responsibility. But some people are just using you. And it's up to you if you want to do business with them or not, you know? You had another question.
I guess the point I'm trying to make is maybe I can figure, let's say I can bring triple digits to the venue, but I suck as a artist, right? Let's say that's maybe the point. Versus a venue that can bring its own people, half the place, and they always expect good music. It's always good music that comes out. And that's what I feel like the long list is kind of lacking, is they just don't respect the artists, get their shit together. Doesn't matter if they're good or not.
Go to Meadery. Every single night they have a case together. And Brothers Drink is right.
No, and that's the point I agree. But Brothers Drink is great because it has its own crowd.
Yeah.
So it's always consistently good.
It doesn't, we don't always have our own crowd. You know, I mean, come in on a Monday. I mean, I'm just saying, I know that most people, we all go out on weekends, you know? So you come in on a Friday and Saturday night, that's just when people go out. So any bar that isn't just solely like a music venue is gonna have its own draw. That's just bar draw, that's weekend draw, okay? So yeah, like when I'm booking a show, I consider two things. I do consider quality of music. I consider how many people that band's going to bring. I have that built-in crowd. Therefore, I have to take into consideration what I put on that stage. Because there have been plenty of times that I've put something on that stage that turned off that built-in crowd, and now that built-in crowd leaves. And they're no longer spending money in my bar. And I get yelled at, okay? Like, April, what the fuck is this shit on that stage, you know? Like, you know, and that's true. So places like that, you have to understand that there's a lot of factors that go into booking music. Sometimes I will book a band just because I know they're gonna bring 200 people. And it might not be necessarily my favorite music, but I know what they're gonna do for my business. And then there will be times that I believe in the music enough that I know that I have that built-in crowd and I want to expose those people to that music. You know, it's like 7 nights a week, there's always 7 different things you can do. So when you're booking a show, you have to take that into consideration. Know your venue, know what you're booking. And I know that most venues aren't transparent, but if it's just a music venue, if it's just Rumba Cafe, you know, if it's like Woodlands Tavern, like they want numbers in the door, they want bar sales at the bar. They have no one to expose you to. So it's not about exposing you, it's about earning off of you. Brothers Drake is different because they already have people that you can be exposed to. Rambling House is not really a bar open all the time.
They're only open on Thursdays.
Yeah, so I mean, they're trying to do music. I don't know if they have a built-in crowd yet. I think they might, but they're still new, you know. They're still developing, you know. They have a built-in crowd, right?
I would say just like look at the venue and like Brothers Drake is the type of venue, in my perspective, is that it's a culture-based venue.
Yes.
Like they're
Location.
trying to build something cool where people want to go to, which is, in my opinion, a very smart business model.
Thanks, I take all credit.
Want to go, it's making money, right?
Yeah.
It's a business, you know. It's a solid business, and then on top of that is the icing music on the cake. But Random House is like that too, where they've developed a culture where people want to go to, despite what's any music really. Even I mean, despite the music, but the music is the icing on the cake, like I said. But you know, look at that as a venue. Like if you want to go to play Bernie's, like okay.
Yeah.
Bernie's, you know?
Know the culture of Bernie's.
Basic, you know?
Yeah.
It's the bottom of the
Tree
barrel.
bar, whatever, Scarlet and Gray, you know what I mean? Like, that's the thing. You have to just know what goes on there. Yeah. Yeah. Every place is different. So it's, do you think that you're appropriate for that place? And then if that person says no, then respect that they know what's best for their business. You can be persistent, you know, but like, just be like, well, if they're not booking me, you know, then I gotta find somewhere else. Because I want to be a musician and I want to get heard. That responsibility on getting your music out is yours and yours alone. It's not mine as a business owner. You know, if I were a musician, that's on me to go push my music and get fans. No one else is in charge of that. And that kind of, I want to talk about promoting too. You know, that's something that I want, you know, I've I've booked plenty of shows where a band will make a Facebook event the day before the show. And I want to knock that person out, I swear to God. And it's like, I've had my calendar updated for 3 weeks. I've had my Facebook Up event, you know, for Brothers Drake for 3 weeks. It's been on the Columbus Alive calendars. It's been in print, sitting in the Dube, you know, like whatever. I covered my bases because I'm promoting music and promoting culture, but then the band who is supposed to pull their half the weight, you know, it should be a 50-50 thing. They're just telling their fans the day before a show. That's offensive to a venue, okay? Because if you're a musician, you have to know that it's your responsibility to push your music. Why is it mine? I don't care if you're a musician or not. I care if bar sales happen. You know, I'm not saying me personally, but like that's what a bar is going to say, you know? Musicians are everywhere. We can choose, there's always another one coming in line. You know, I don't have to struggle to get people to want to play my stage. So if, like, you have to know that it's up to you to promote your brand. And like I said, whatever you put into it is what you're going to get out of it, you know? Carlin.
I have a question kind of to all the musicians too. Obviously Facebook is huge for promoting events, and that's kind of like the standard that we all use, really, it seems like. But to me that's pretty frustrating because, like, for me, I get like 5 event invites every day and I just like don't even know what's going on half the time. Like, it's lucky that I'm even here right now. But, but like, I'm just wondering, other than doing that or putting up posters that cost money, does anyone have like good strategies that they've used to promote shows outside of that, like creative different ones to get people to come out to shows? Like, I think that's a huge struggle for bands, especially if you're playing often, is to get people to continue coming and to get different people to come, you know, to reach new people.
Yeah, I could just start off with a couple of things that work for us.
Jeff is in Jared Mahone's band, by the way.
We try to avoid as much as we can a Facebook event blast kind of a strategy. And what works a lot better is you can create an event, but I think what works a lot better is to personally invite people. And it sounds basic, it sounds obvious, but like you can, I mean, what are the valuable ways you can use your time? Like, how long would it take you to design a poster and print it and then run around town hanging it up? It would take that same amount of time and just sit there and just call or message people one at a time and ask them to come. And I think people respect being, you know, given your time to like bother to ask. Because I'm the same way with Facebook events. Like, you start to see the same names pop up like every week, right, and you just realize, okay, well, they're not actually inviting me. You know, they're just saying, you know, they're just hitting everybody.
Right. Do you private event or do you public event?
We public event because we're not going to like try to make it. Or not we're supposed to know we're public. But yeah, you make a public event, but you don't have to like send an invite to your whole list about it. Just the event is there, yeah, and you know. I mean, I don't have like a silver bullet answer, but you can start there. Like,
yeah. And I don't want to interrupt you guys, but to touch on that, like, you do have to be conscious when you're promoting, especially Facebook events. If you've ever received an invite to an event from me, it's because I specifically thought that you would come to that show.
We all know that.
I have never hit select all on a Facebook event once in my life.
You can anymore.
Well, yeah.
I know. Well, there's like workarounds and shit, but so people are doing that because I get that all the time. No.
Don't look for those.
Also, Facebook, I mean, even though it is like it's an easy and great way to get the word out, that's 5% of what you're able to do to promote, and that's what you're trying to figure out, right?
Well, and like obviously like texting, like I do that too. Like I will text a select group of people that I know will respond positively to that. But I also know there are people that if I do that every time, it will annoy them. You know what I mean? It comes back to the persistence issue too. Not just with the venues, but with your fans. Like, what's the right level of persistence to get people to want to keep coming, but not to annoy them with, oh, keep coming to these shows. Like,
It's a super hard challenge.
It's a very hard challenge. Stephanie.
Well, what we do is, when it comes to, it's like picking a venue and knowing what your fan base is going to want to go there. When we invite people to events, again, it's personally messaging, and I message the people that I know will not like the music, but will like to go to that place. So if I know someone, which is
Yeah.
But at the same time, you know that, you know, let's say a small show, Cafe Caraway, and I know some people who, you know, just like to hang out at Cafe Caraway. I'll message them and say, you're probably already going to be here, so why not?
Yeah. Right.
It's consciously just paying attention to that stuff along the way. You learn this stuff the more shows that you throw. I know that you're still, new and playing, so you haven't figured a lot of this out, but
Yeah, like for me, like I was in a different, like my band right now that I'm actually taking seriously has been around for less than a year. I was in another band before that. We just kind of just played any show we could get. Like there was no strategy whatsoever, and that just like it sucked honestly. Like nobody wants to come when you're playing every 2 weeks at Ruby Tuesday. Like just it's not gonna happen. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's hard when you're like just like college kids and like. But now, like obviously, like I try to use a lot more strategy and learn from that experience. But it's still kind of like I feel like there has to be more creative ways of promotion. Like I've been fortunate enough to have CU125 played one of my songs for a while, and that was a huge promotion. But like I'm like super lucky that I got that. Not everyone can get that, and I can't even get that again if I want to in a lot of ways. And it's like, how do you take more control of doing things differently and standing out for the crowd? Because there are a lot of us bands.
there are.
How do we make ourselves interesting and generate need?
Aaron, you got an answer to that?
Well, that doesn't answer the option. Like, I play with, pretty often, through bands and stuff.
Yeah.
And the one thing that I noticed that helps me with getting people to shows and, like, having mutual respect and just going to their shows.
Yeah.
It's like, I mean, how many times...
People will support you if you support them.
Exactly. It's not like, well, I went to your show, you should come, because that's
Yeah, that's shit.
fuck off, man. But like the thing is, like, I don't know, just go to the show once a week. And like, not necessarily like, hey man, we should really like play a show together. Just going to see what other bands want to play. And hearing music, because there's so many great musicians in these streets.
It's community.
It's a community, it's such a small place. When they start to see, like I've seen everyone here play at a show. Did I go talk to them? Like, he sounded great, or like, yeah, I think I seen you in this one band. I just know that they're there.
Yeah.
I think it goes around.
Because and that's the thing, you're learning. I mean, you don't have to go talk to them, but you're learning what they did or what's happening in their scene. Yeah.
Beyond that, it's not just musicians that you can or have to support, because there are plenty of other musicians are busy, so chances are if you show on Friday night, some of us will show up, and they're not going to come out to see your show. But, I'm sure you know more than just musicians, artists, whatever, people who own food trucks or whatever. Go and support them, and they see you, and you make friends with them, and not only is it, hey, now I have this connection, but it's, I have this friend who wants to come and see me. And maybe they're not going to come every time, but they'll come out one night, and someone else will come out another night, and then eventually start bringing people out.
Like, we live in some gallery areas. It's like, well, that's at least like, well, 5 people came to this show last night. It's like it's easy.
It's so good.
Yes.
But then if it's one person that shows up to their gallery, that's what they're going
That means, yeah.
There's
Yeah.
a general consensus that it takes a long time though. Like I think that's what everybody can agree on is that any of these strategies are slow, and I think it's easy. Like I get impatient sometimes. Like I want to be like at the level of this band that I see in this scene. Like, I want to be like that. And
You have to abandon that way of thinking.
yeah, but I
And that's
see
tough,
a lot
but
of other
you have
bands
to.
that think the same way. It's like
And that's good. That's good to have a goal. That's a goal. I want to be
It motivates you.
And that's good. But yeah, it takes time. And also, I think make your events more special. Or make a big event that everybody can come to once a year. That's really creative. What do you enjoy doing that's not just music, but try to incorporate those things into the music?
Wafflepalooza, ladies and gentlemen. That's what Chris Shaw did. He likes waffles.
I'll give it them for free. So we had a show that every year we did it, and we can still do it. But the original idea was like we had a waffle iron in the bar, and then people pour batter into it. It's just like
And it's brilliant. It's great, actually.
And then people were like, "Oh, cool waffle."
Yeah.
But every year we do it, and it gets bigger, and it's an interesting event. It's whatever.
yeah.
But
I know.
It's setting yourself apart, like you're saying.
Yeah. I know a musician in town that if I'm at the coffee shop with him, he's telling everyone about his show Friday night. You know, I mean, I know people that, I mean, like, it doesn't matter where we go, and I know that we're not all as personable and open and easy to talk to, but this particular guy will just talk to anybody. And there's a couple of them, but it translates. I'm telling you, like,
You gotta be genuine about it.
and you have to be genuine about it, you know. And some of you might know one of the ones that I'm talking about, because you seem to know that. But like, that's the thing. Like, you could walk into, you know, you could walk up to a food truck and be like, "Hey, man, I got a show on Friday night. You should come to that." And like, "I just bought food from you. Hint, hint. You should come see me." Whatever, you know. And but don't push it. But yeah, but that's the thing. Like, I mean, everyone loves music. We know that.
Handbills are really,
Yes, have them with you. And yes, okay, so you were talking about how that costs money.
Right.
Printing posters costs money, printing handbill costs money. This is your future. You're investing in it.
Yeah.
You have to, and like I said, you have to take responsibility for that. No one is ever expected to promote you and your music and your brand. So if you have the money, great. If you don't, then you don't. That's just the way it is. If I have money for food tonight, I don't, or I do, you know?
And if you want to make a real business, plan like a real business, then do that. Like every month, I'm going to spend, even if it's $10 on promotion. Like that's all you can afford, then do that.
Right.
But then the
Don't
next
forget
month, you know.
And try to maximize that $10, yeah.
I was going to say, don't forget that posters are a support thing. They're not the thing. Like,
No,
people
yeah.
are going to come to a show because they saw posters. That's got to be the third time or the fourth time they saw your name. So just keep that in mind.
Yeah.
But handbills are different.
That's not the
posters.
first thing you spend your budget on.
Right.
Yeah.
Handbills are different than posters too, whereas like you're talking to a person and you're like, "Hey man, here's my show." Like,
Yeah, that's like a business card.
right. And it's also a reminder of your conversation. It's not necessarily like, it's not like, it's different than passing it out to everybody you see. 'Cause that's
Yeah.
just like, whatever.
That's aimless.
But like talking to a person, like, "Hey man," you put that in your pocket, and later you go home and you're like, "Oh yeah, I remember this guy."
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, on everybody's.
The thing is that it doesn't have to be something super fancy that you spend $50. But if you're concerned about money, just, you know, anything, even just with the band's name and the date and the number or whatever, you can handwrite it with events and you can just say, "Hey, listen," you know, carry a stack of blank cards around and you say, "Hey, listen, I want to come to this show. I'm writing this down."
Great idea.
And
Or like Vista Prints, I think they do free business cards and that.
And hey, guess what too? Like, I mean, some of you guys will make a post, like design something and put it online and put it in the Facebook event, but you don't actually print it. I print it at Brothers Drake and I stick it up in our kiosks. You don't need to ask me to do that, but you can ask the venue. Be like, "Hey, I made this poster. Do you mind hanging 3 or 4 around the venue?" You know, like, you can't afford to go get that printed, but if a venue tells you no, then, I mean, that's a dick move, but I don't see why they wouldn't, honestly. Like, I mean, they do, but, like, well, then it was what it is. Like, you know, I mean, I don't know how you're going to work around that. Try to discuss with them, communicate with them, like, "Hey, man, I can't afford it right now. I'm really trying to do some extra promotion for the show. Is it, like, I mean, come on, a ream of paper, what does that cost? It cost me, what, $11? You know, I have 500 sheets, and
Or call their beer rep and have them put Budweiser on it.
yeah, that's a good point too, you know? No? But yeah, I mean, like, no, we don't do
A
that.
lot of bars will print your posters for free if you put TV on.
That's true. Yeah,
Yeah, think of what they value and try to offer them something of value.
yeah. Yeah, there are so many other ways that you can promote. I mean, you know, word of mouth, individually talking to people is the most effective, because what is music? We're all trying to connect with somebody. So when you are, you know, at I don't know, when you're at the coffee shop and you're having a discussion with someone, they're already connected to you, okay? And if you personally invite them to something and then they show up at, you know, and you know yourself as a music fan, you see somebody on a stage, oh my gosh, they're a big deal, you know, and you feel connected to them. And then you go, I don't know, to Brothers Drake on a Friday night, and you go to see the musician that, like, you had just met them without an instrument in their hand, and now they're on a stage playing to a big room, having a lot of fun. You feel pretty special. You're like, "Oh man, I met that guy today. You know, he's a pretty cool guy." And now you feel like you extra want to support him. You're probably going to go to the next show if you like the music in the next show, you know. You're going to tell your friends about that show that you went to, you know. Personal interactions is always the most effective. That's how I got into this. I would make Facebook events with EOP and invite personally all the people that I knew would be into that music, but it was also text messages and people that I saw on the street and all my friends. And like Stephanie said, like, I I know I was fortunate enough that I just got into the scene 5-6 years ago. So I'm 32. So I had a whole mess of friends that were not in the music scene before I got into it. And that's people in the suburbs. That's people in the food industry. That's people whatever, doing whatever. So I could tap into them like, hey, I know you like music and this band's really good. You need to come see them. And if you're passionate about something, then people believe that it's good, you know? So just put that behind it. Just say, hey, you know, like, it's gonna be really fun, blah, blah, blah. You know how to do that. But that's what was effective for me, was just, you know, grassroots, word of mouth shit. That's how a lot of bands rise too. You know, fans tell each, you know, fans create fans. That's really what it is. Morgan.
I'm very new in music. See yourself that people have the most exciting things that I've noticed. People want to be more listening to it. And so if you sell it as, I mean, your background is solid and confident of what you're going to be presenting on this stage, people are just, they're going to want to come back out and kind of see because they believe in you. Because deep down, everybody wants to be like, yeah. Our good friends are lumineers from home. And nobody, you know, when lumineers started, it's very small. And so it's people that they really reached out, and especially then what they did. I remember when I was studying at Wesley, and we were on the college, we were starting on the college, they sent individualized emails asking me. So people want to be there.
Another thing I was going to say, I was talking to emails, is if you're new, that's harder, but start developing an email list, because that's different than Facebook. And you're only talking to people that signed up.
Right.
So you know that, like, they're not going to be bothered, they can sign up.
Right.
I mean, they might be bothered, they can unsubscribe, but
Email lists, I mean, you want to cover every base, and there's a lot of bases. We'll go over that, you know. But email lists are great because some people don't get on. Some people aren't on Facebook. You know, some people aren't on Instagram. Some people aren't on Twitter. Some people don't hate email either. But also, God, oh my God. If you like, go the extra mile with it. You know, don't just have the email list sitting on the stage or next to your merch table. Take initiative. There's a guy in this room that holds it up on the microphone and says, here, I'm going to give this to you, and you're going to pass it around the room for me. And they do it. There's a guy in this room that does that, and then I get his emails every week, and it reminds me about his shows. That's an extra reminder that you have a show. You know, I mean, you've got to get creative with it. You have to take control of that too. Like you've got to say on the microphone, hey, I've got this email list here, or hey, I've got this Facebook page, or I'm on Twitter, or whatever. And you know, like you have to always be telling people, because we're in an ADD nation. We don't, like, we hear one thing and it's out there the next, and we just can't remember things. We need reminders, which is something that I want to say. Like, you know, if you're going to make a Facebook event, don't make it the day before the show. That's pointless. But it's not pointless, but it's pointless. Make it like 3 weeks out, okay? Because now people at least know you have a show that you're looking forward to, and you don't have to keep telling people and badgering people, because that's annoying and nobody wants to hear every freaking day that, okay, you've got a show in 3 weeks. But like the week of, send out a reminder inside that event, and then maybe like couple days leading up to the show, or the day of, say, hey, don't forget tonight, 9 o'clock, doors, you know, don't be late, this band's playing first. You know, just make sure that people know in advance, because there are people that plan out their lives. There's a lot of people that just wake up that morning and decide what they're going to do. So at least you got both of those people, you know. Also, I know a lot of people do play more often than 2 or 3 weeks, you know, out. That's a whole other conversation. But as far as promoting goes, cover your bases. Use Facebook, use Instagram, use Twitter, use flyers if you can. Print them off your home computer. I don't know if you guys noticed, but my flyers at Brothers Drake, I mean the posters are printed off our computer, because it's not about the quality of the paper, it's not about the colors, it's not about the design, you know, like Stephanie said, it's about the information. You know, all I want is people to know the information. And I personally don't have a budget for promoting, so I use what I have. So if you don't have a budget for promoting, use what you have. It's, you know, $10 to get 500 sheets of paper, and use the printer at the library. hang those up around town. You know, I don't care. I personally have a list of places in the city that I find to be the most effective with the best foot traffic for the type of people that I'm promoting towards. I'll be happy to give that to you. You know, like whether it be North Market, you know, the Dube, whatever, like whatever place, you know, like Cup of Joe. Like there's places that just stick a flyer, even if it's just a couple. You know, I had a band that, like, they made handbills, and I mean, sure, like 500 handbills are more expensive than maybe, you know, 100, and they'll drop off a couple at the Meadery. When I get that kind of stuff, I'm like, they're going the extra mile. And that you might reach just 5 extra people, and to you that you might think that's just 5, that's 5 extra people that are gonna hear your music. You know, even if only 2 people heard on Twitter that you have a show, that's 2 extra people that are coming to your show. Every fan counts, because that one person can translate into 10 more people.
You get a
You know?
you can get on their like business account. You can get a business account, and they give you like percentage off each flyer. I kind of like how to keep it. State the law, so
Yeah, I mean, there's an email list and word of mouth. I mean, unfortunately, like, I mean, what else is there, you know? But that's a lot, actually. I really want you all to think about how people got people to shows before the internet, which has only been around for, what, 15 years? You know, like, or I mean, like, before Facebook, which Facebook is, what, 7 or 8 years? Like, I mean, and people sold out shows back then. How did they do it? What'd you say? But people sold out shows, you know, like, it's word of mouth, and yeah, flyers can do so much, but it's limited. You have to just always be passionately telling people that you have something that you want to give them, and people are pulled in by passion. That's why I have this job, that's why I'm where I am, because I passionately express the things that I believe in, and you know, people are drawn to that, you know. So that's what it takes, is just, hey man, I really think you're gonna like this, but don't tell people who don't. You know, I've got a few people who have, I know, like when I have like send out invites, there's a couple of my friends who have hit that button that says do not accept invites from this person, because it, like, you know, blurs out their name. So I'm like, well, I guess they don't want to hear that I've got shows to promote, and I can't take that personally. Like, you just can't. You just have to keep it moving and just know that, well, there are plenty of other people who want to know, and that's that. Whatever. That's one person. That's 2 people. It's not a big deal, you know. Mallory, you were gonna say something.
The same thing, like, you were saying, like, I want invites all the time. I mean, it's annoying, everybody gets a lot all the time. But if you want people to look at yours, I mean, somebody random invites you something you know you're not going to go to, take 2 seconds to explain, I'm going to be working or whatever. That person just saw your name, and so when they see it again and they're invited into something, they might pay attention. It's all about, you know, what goes around you, like everybody was working for each other. Something else I wanted to say about the promotion. Something that I loved that your mom and Big Fat Movie Band did was, like, they had these big signs with their hashtag, and everybody was taking pictures of everything and hashtagging it. And they took a picture of the audience and hashtagged it, and everybody, like, rebranded that, you know? Like, little things like that. That doesn't cost anything. Just, they took a picture of the audience. I mean, people in the audience took pictures of them, and everybody used the same hashtag. That's a good source of promotion. It costs nothing. People do that all the time. I love to go, like, look at the pictures that Muse posted, or, you know, some huge band posted, and see if I'm in the audience, you know?
I personally love Instagram.
Yeah.
If anyone's following me, you know that my life is on there, and the only shit I talk about on Facebook is music. But if you want to know who I am as a person, I'm on Instagram. And when I, like, if there's something I'm interested in, if it's sailing, I'm gonna type in hashtag sailing, and I'm gonna see sailing photos from around the world, and it's really awesome. So yeah, I mean, like, if you have a brand that you want to sell, like, I mean, I've got Jazz Wednesdays right now, and everything that I use, I mean, I failed in the beginning, but, like, you know, now on everything that I print that has Jazz Wednesday promotion on it, I have a hashtag that says Jazz Wednesday, because that's me inspiring you to hashtag that, so that I can go back and I can get on Instagram or Twitter or Facebook even, I guess, to do that, to see all the other posts about Jazz Wednesdays, you know, and that's how it starts. You have to start that. You have to like initiate that kind of thing.
That brings up another question, and I'm going to go at risk of sounding really dumb saying this, but what if your brand as a musician, like, inflicts with using social media, for example, or like Instagram, or like basically what I'm saying is like if your brand as a musician is you want like this really like vintage appeal, or you want it to be really like stripped down in terms of like how you communicate, like maybe that's your thing. That's just what you do.
Like you're recording on tapes instead of digital. Then you have to understand that you're at a disadvantage.
Right, and I guess like
It just
the
is what it
question
is.
is like if that's what you want your brand to be, you know,
Well,
how to
then-
still maintain
Most
success.
hipster band.
Well, I'm saying like Jack White is an example. Like, I mean, Jack White has like a Facebook page, but he never posts to it. You know what I mean? It's like always somebody else.
Yeah, but he was already developed long before that even became into the
Right.
conversation.
Yeah, but I guess the question is like, that's one thing I see is like, I don't like using. I'm a marketing major. Well, I graduated from OSU with a marketing degree, but I personally don't like using social media very much. I think it's like kind of. It just feels like it's too oversaturated at this point. Like I think it was very valuable 5 years ago, but I think now it's just kind of like there's too much stuff on there.
That's your challenge then.
So it's like-
go do something else.
Right. And I guess I mean I know there's no like right answer, and like I said, it might sound stupid saying this because everybody's like, oh, Facebook, like that's clearly useful and that's what we use. But I guess I'm just trying to push the boundaries of like what else can be done that hasn't been done. And I'm only bringing.
You figure that out and you tell me. That is your challenge, Carlin. we're all trying to figure out what hasn't been done and you know what we can do. You know, that's the thing. Like I want you guys to think about that. How did people promote shows before Facebook? All they did, it was posters and word of mouth. You know, that's what people did before the internet, and it worked back then. If you don't use social media, you are missing out on people. So you recognize that. Accept that if you want to be cool and kitschy and vintage and you don't want to go that route, then you are alienating a certain amount of people in the world. So that's going to be directly reflective of how many people come to your shows and how many people listen to music.
21 Pilots, they didn't use Facebook at all. I think that was like their whole thing.
Yeah, I never saw them.
Facebook at all.
Yeah.
Twitter, they were extremely successful with, you know what I mean? Like, I'm pretty sure Twitter was like part of how they like expanded so rapidly. So it's like, I mean, it's.
If you put on a good show though, like I think that's
Yeah, good music sells itself.
Yeah.
For a good show.
Good show, man, people are gonna come back and see it. If you don't, you're doing something wrong. I mean, I read that so much. If you ever look at that Indie on the Move website, have you ever read that? Yeah. It's a great website. I mean, they talk a lot about that. Like, if you're putting on shitty shows, nobody's gonna come see you. That's bottom line.
Yeah.
You gotta do better.
And you know that's a bigger conversation too. Is you know obviously we can talk about like when I say if one band is better than the other. You know I mean like there are so many different styles of music, and it's just like I mean I can make pancakes, and I mean I can make a pancake, but you know Chef so and so can probably make it way better than me, and I just have to as a pancake maker understand. I don't know, probably I'm thinking waffles, Chris. I just have to accept that I am not, you know, I'm not making pancakes everybody wants to eat. And it's tough to get through that ego, you know, of like, you know, oh damn it, like I'm really putting my heart and soul into this pancake, and you know, people, damn it, why won't anybody eat it? I know, you guys are all gonna like hashtag pancake tomorrow, right? But Nick brought tortillas or something? That's just, you know, that's just the state of art, you know, and expressing yourself. And it goes back to that of like, look, we're all fortunate if we can get people to want to buy into who we are as people and want to give us money just to express ourselves. You know, that's a beautiful thing, you know? It's a really beautiful thing. It's a very hard thing too. And you have to know that going into it, you know?
I think promotion is a pretty big topic that we talk about a lot. But I kind of wanted to ask you a question, just kind of personally, maybe on a different subject.
Oh shit, okay.
Yeah. Why do you, as a representative of the venue, like what's the reason why do you seek to book quality music? Because some venues kind of, I mean, sometimes you experience an interaction with the venue and they kind of make you feel like you're a necessary evil from their perspective, or maybe even like you're not quite sure why they bother having bands, because it's like, but there are some venues that care. And so from your perspective, like why do you care to make sure that the bands you book are good? as opposed to the alternative would be numbers. Like whoever has the biggest draw, they get booked, and that's another way to operate. So why do you choose to operate?
Well, I mean, like we just said, nobody wants to buy shitty music. Nobody, and I don't want to say shitty, but like nobody wants to be turned off by something. If you're turned on by something, then you're having a good time, and that means that they're going to come back next week.
Well, but some venues kind of think like there's always going to be somebody that likes it, and if you're going to bring 200 people, who cares?
But if you're bringing 200 people, then you have a good product.
Maybe.
Just
You have a lot of friends.
Or you,
I didn't hear what you said, Josh. I didn't hear. Oh, well, I know, that's another story.